Hey everyone, Kevin Rose here. Very excited to have a conversation with Alexis Ohanian today, who is the co-founder of Reddit and also the founder of 776 Ventures. We have an important announcement to make about how we are joining forces to build what is going to be the future of Web3. Here's our conversation.
I knew it and I called it, and I swear, like, as soon as I feel like not long after the first we spoke about the proof Grails, I feel like it's hopefully there's an email thread or something that I can hang on to and show my grandkids one day. But I feel like there was a moment where I was like, dude, Kevin, this is unfair, because there's only a handful of people who deeply understand how to build product companies, but build community-led or sort of community-driven product companies. It's a small group, dude. And everything that has existed so far around these nascent NFT communities just feels it's the same vibes as before, except now that ownership component makes such a difference. And man,
I don't know
wow,
what to say, man. It's
dude.
just,
It's a testament. I think it is a testament to all the work. And this is why I had some people, a little salty, be like, how come this thing is only a few days old? The Moonbird story did not just start with the mint, right? It didn't start even with the start of proof. I would say it started like maybe sometime around, 2004, maybe earlier. With the launch of
both
Dig.
of us didn't have gray hairs back
Right?
in the day.
We were young.
No babies. Yeah,
we were young back then. Yeah. And all of the things that have led up to Moonbirds are the culmination of all the work, all the gray hairs, all the ruminating on online community, all of the building of things. And no disrespect to, the whole team, not just you, Kevin, right? The whole team has been doing this stuff for a minute, for almost decades now. Certainly an aggregate. And gosh, dude, it's wild. So I'm excited to be talking, about this. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I told the team today, I said, listen, the hype's at a 10, our product's at a 1. It's our job to close that gap, right? Like it's
do the
time
work.
to get after it. You got to do the work. So,
but what I love about this, Kevin, is because we are now gray haired, we've lived through hype cycles. Right? Dude, magazine covers, like, there is no better steward. This is going to feel like too pandery, but like the reality is I really don't think there's any better steward than someone like you who's gone through versions of this. They're actually just, this is an echo of a lot of this stuff. And you're right. At the end of the day, none of this matters. What matters is the execution. What matters is all the great work that the team's going to do. And that's what building is all about. But it's got to feel a little good though, right?
We're off to a good start. I
there
think,
you go. I love it. Fucking Bill Belichick over here.
No, listen, it's
yes.
The thing is, and you remember this very well. Obviously, you're still living it with a lot of companies that you invest in and that I invest in. It sucks to be an ad business. And so, at Dig, when we were on top, we had something like 36 million or so monthly uniques that were coming to the site. We still couldn't make money. And so the fact that we can actually now use this capital, like that's what this was, this initial sale. It was capital into the company to go out and build. Like, it's a beautiful thing because it sets the creativity free, right? That's awesome. So
and
now
it aligns. And it aligns, right? We had the same. I remember fighting even with, certainly when we were in Condé Nast, but even after, having to fight with like advertisers about campaigns that we just thought were heinous. Like, literally having the conversation with people, like, don't run this ad. Users aren't going to like it. It's an obnoxious ad. And yet this was the business model basically all of us in Web 2 were beholden to. And to be able to think about building product and have the creativity unleashed, like you said, and to know that what you're building is with your audience, with your community, with your users from day one, It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You don't have to make that compromise of,
it's
I
nice
got to
that they
pay the
get to
bills,
participate.
folks.
And everyone gets to participate in the upside, which is
Yes.
great long term. So
Very,
that's
true.
killer.
Dude, it's wild.
So we should talk. Man. We should talk about the news.
Okay.
Because it's done. It's a done deal.
When you're a true gentleman, Kevin, what do we do? You should do it, or I should do it? How?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, let's just put it this way. When Proof started to take off, you hit me up and you were like, dude, like you taking any capital? Like, were you going to do an investment here?
I begged you.
Yeah, you didn't beg. And I was, and we had money in the bank and all that. And I thought to myself, like, it would be really fun to work with you on a couple different levels. One, I've always admired your product instincts. You're building there. In the times that we've riffed on just different ideas, like there's no better person. I would rather riff on the future of Web3 and social than you. So I should say my co-founder Justin I put in that camp and some of my team. Fair. But outside of that, like as a third party, you're at the top of that list. And when you talked about, hey, do you want to raise a little money? We didn't need the capital, but I was like, I want to have you on board for your thinking, but also I really respect what you've done as a venture capitalist and how you built 776 and what you've done in terms of the people that are involved, the LPs that are involved, like the diversity that you have brought to the table. It's unlike any other firm out there. And that, as being a girl dad and like, I feel that like we can do better as venture capitalists. And like, that's my gig too, with the True Venture side and True Invest as well, which I'm very thankful for. But, I'm honored to have you as part of this because can you talk about that initiative internally at 776 and what you created? Because it's very special.
Of course, man. I mean, I've built a venture firm before, initialized, spent 10 years doing that sort of in concert with coming back to Reddit. But I knew starting this, the rest of my life, I was going to be building 776. And a big part of that job is, I mean, frankly, generating good returns, great returns by investing in companies that are going to have a huge impact. And I realized I had never in 10 years even thought about who our investors were. I mean, I thought about it, some great institutions and whatnot, but we wanted to just very deliberately say from jump, our investor community, whether it's institutions or foundations or individuals, they were going to be a reflection of our society and of our country. So what does that mean? It means half of our LPs are women, and venture or the venture industry, the tech industry, the finance industry. These are all industries that are still very male dominated, and also that we'd have an investor base that was a reflection of society. So about 15% of our LPs are Black or Indigenous people. I mean, we did the extra work. We turned down money from investment teams, from institutional teams that had like six white dudes sitting around the table because simply, every one of those investors is an individual in our community. And we have software on our end that literally makes them almost like a Reddit community. And we knew that we weren't going to have the best possible returns if we didn't have the broadest range of fantastic people. And it started spinning up this flywheel where we're like, okay, well then let's also make sure any institution we're taking money from is using that money either to further, great education ideals that we believe in, or giving money to underrepresented or sort of marginalized communities all over the world. And so that any founder, the hope was, any founder would already be really excited to take our money, but would be even more excited if they knew the folks they're aggrandizing, the folks they're helping
100%.
Are aligned. And so it makes me so happy to hear that because this is validating a hunch that like Caitlin, Lizzie, and I had a year and a half ago. And I think it's going to matter more and more. And we do a yearly survey of all kinds of things. Actually, we got to publish. I'll try to get this up on the website this week. But we did a full audit of every one of our LPs, and we want it to be as public as possible because we have nothing to hide, and we actually think it's a huge advantage. And clearly, it seems to be helping.
Well, I mean, it resonates a lot with me, man. When you got on that call and we had that chat where you wanted to introduce me to your team,
yeah,
and you had I've done 1,000, probably 10,000 VC calls in my life, right?
Yeah.
And it's mostly white dudes. And when you got on that call and you had a true diverse team that joined that call, and I was like, wow, I think he's the only white guy on the call. That's pretty awesome. It was immediately apparent at how much effort you put in to be very deliberate about doing things differently. And I don't know, man, I love that. And so you check all the boxes in terms of awesome human. We both have little girls. That's also awesome.
That's a perk.
You care about your LPs and just your product thinking. It was all awesome. So anyway, the announcement is that you invested $10 million. You're outside of True Ventures, which is where I work, as a partner over there. You're the only other investor. And we wanted to have you have the most capital in as an individual. And we wanted to have you on board because we think you're totally aligned with where we want to go. You'll push us to be a better company in terms of the people we want to hire, holding us to a high standard. We'll provide you with financials so that there's no rugging going on. There's a lot of things that are really important in this world of crypto, And so I just want to thank you for having the faith in us and writing that big check. It's meaningful. And I'm very excited to collaborate on the future of Web3 with you.
Dude, feeling is mutual. Everyone on the team left that call very, very, very excited. It is, let me tell you, and I can't stress this enough, right? The folks we're lucky enough to have on the squad are fucking amazing at what they do. And part of our mindset here is we have an opportunity this time around with the internet, with Web3, to, I don't want to say fix, but to improve upon a lot of the things that we stumbled into, at least the last time with Web2 as we were building. I know as a first-time CEO, fucking 20 years old, right out of college, I don't know anything. I'm trying to learn, all the decisions were coming from a place that was pretty well-intentioned, I think most of us, but all still fairly limited in our experiences and our worldviews and all this stuff. And I'm so excited because I'm looking at this project, no pressure, as being such an amazing way to bring a whole nother just range of people into this world, into the new internet. And if we do it right, it will mean really, really great things for folks. And I think gives us almost a second chance. And this is the part, we could have another podcast about sort of things we would redo, things we would have done differently.
Yes.
But this feels in so many ways like a second chance, at least speaking for myself, to do even better. Or at least I'm not a founder, but to invest and support and try to live as vicarious as I can through y'all to do even better. And there's no higher leverage time to do it than now because of that ownership component that makes this all so special.
And it's going to be a big focus for us for the next few years. The thing I think about and lands on me the hardest from this drop is that a lot of people said, and this is just being completely transparent, I was priced out at 2.5 ETH when you did that sale. And that's fair. That is completely fair criticism. And so for us, we think of this as that was a round of financing. Those are the investors of this very first thing. And they're going to, as we do subsequent drops that are more expansive down the road, that's when we want to get the pricing right, get more people involved, really ensure if we can come up with certain mechanics to make sure there's a diverse group of people involved as well, that would be huge. And so there's a lot of work to be done there, and it's never going to be perfect, but you and I are going to work on that together. I'm going to pick your brain on that front.
Dude, you have my axe. And the wild thing is, gosh, man, it's just, even there were so many subtleties and we can get into the nuances of everything from smart contract design to even just this communication around it. But I think one of the important parts of this company that proof broadly is going to play on the ecosystem is consistently forcing everyone to up everyone's game. I mean, the nice thing about this industry is everyone sees something that makes you go, oh, that was smart. I wish we had done that. Or I wish we had thought of that. That's good. We're going to, and the impact of all the experiences that y'all have combined with obviously doing the work, which is going to come, I think is going to set into motion so many other people who are going to see this and be like, okay, this really isn't, I mean, it's crazy to say, but like, this really is a new internet that's getting built because these are products and these are ideas that are like, they're the kind of things that are being built for online community. And I mean, it's funny how Discord and Twitter ended up being a place where people spend so much time talking about this stuff, but it was not intentional. And we all we've all been kind of looking around for a year and change, hoping and wondering. And I'm excited to see you all bring it to life. And obviously we'll do everything I can to help it because this is a second go around, man. And we've got more gray hairs, but trust me, it feels as motivating as it was at times. It feels so much better to be on your team. And I'm just over the moon about the chance to fund y'all and be partners.
That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this. So that was the big announcement we wanted to tell everyone. You and I should do another deep dive podcast at some point and go deep on some of these topics because that'd be a fun full length one for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But Alexis, thank you for having confidence in us as the team and what we're building. It's early innings. Like the hype is real and the product is not yet. So that's what we got to work on.
Huge caveat there, but this is okay. Well, you can cut this part if you're like, dude, this is way too grandiose.
Oh,
but
dude, well, I leave everything in. Let's hear it.
Think about how you might have to censor me a couple times, but think about how even the nature of I have an interesting idea, check it out, changed because of like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and Patreon and different, but like there was a shift that happened in the brains of creatives because they were like, okay, now I have a crazy idea and I can, if I pitch it well enough and get enough people to believe in it, I can earn enough money to like take off my work for 6 months to go build it. And it didn't always work, but sometimes it did and actually worked really, really well because folks who otherwise never would have gotten a chance to have an idea could create that minimum viable community and get some money and go. And
you ever get that pepper grinder, by the way? I got a killer pepper grinder that was a Kickstarter. It was amazing.
No.
I'll have to send you one if I
Googling
I'll
the pepper
find
grinder.
It's
okay.
Absolutely. You wouldn't think a pepper grinder would be good, but it was one of those weird Kickstarter things. Like it sounds like late night TV shit, but it's
the
like
men kitchen with an umlaut.
Yes.
Peppers your steak in 7 cranks instead of 70. Yeah, okay, that's practical.
That it puts out and how fresh and fine grained and the control is.
Yeah,
it's epic.
Oh, the world's best. Okay, well great example, right? And what's wild is, we kind of normalized that behavior as a society, and then it almost became the butt of jokes. It just like it got halfway there, right? And then there was a moment with I think it was under Obama with some of the crowdfunding legislation that had started where I was like, hey, maybe we could change the way people think about what an accredited investor means and start taking a thing that normally used to belong to just very, very wealthy people or institutions or VCs and democratize it. And like, let's see what happens. Let's see what goes. And where I've just continued to get hopeful. And then, I think, you all really showed a way here is that there is a new dynamic, we know people like when they own a publicly traded company stock, they care more. Like they buy more of that product if they own that stock. Mm-hmm. They are, even if they have one share, it makes a material difference in how they think about it and how they interact with it. But that access really only happens at the very end, not the end, but towards the end of the company journey, not in those earliest, grittiest, hardest days. And while, those are obviously also the riskiest days, it's still it's like it's transferred the energy that a lot of us have felt as investors, whether angel investors or professional investors for the last 10, 15 years. And it's now transferring that energy to almost anyone on the internet with an ETH address, an ETH wallet. And that part, that amount of caring, that amount of enthusiasm, that amount of creativity, that amount of all that stuff, like we've not yet normalized that. We are still so early into it that I'm so hopeful for what it could bring about, because we've seen what online communities can do. We've seen what happens when they just haphazardly say, "Hey, let's do a thing," and then they do it. And
right.
And I as an experienced community product builder, I just know the things, whether it's the conversations we have here, privately or publicly, whatever, the conversations we have here, and the process of actually then starting to ship, getting feedback, learning, iterating, making mistakes, all the stuff that's just a natural part of the process, whatever's coming out on the end there feels like it is going to be materially different than any of the stuff we have seen before. And it's been so easy in tech to feel kind of jaded. And right now, and especially in the last 6 months, I've felt like this is the start of, I don't know, just a true journey to some new undiscovered universe.
Yeah.
And
the craziest, the one crazy, just to riff on that for a second, the one
Please.
craziest thing, when you mention that someone holds a share, they have a different connection with the brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I've noticed, even in the Proof Collective, is when they're invested and they hold something, they want to keep the bar high in terms of conversation, standard, everything else, because it's community ownership of something, not just I'm a participant in somebody else's thing that they own, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a shift. That's a huge mental shift for a lot of people. And I think it's going to bring people together in a really positive way versus a tearing down each other way, which can happen when there's no ownership there.
Let me give you the dream. Okay. So I've been trying to figure out the version of this. This is like, if you could make, okay. So in theory, your neighborhood cafe, like in theory, everyone who walks down that street to go to the cafe is a unified member of the city where you all pay taxes, where you all vote, where you all participate as a society. Now, that doesn't always work, especially during polarizing times. Like it's really hard to think that there is any common ground. But even that cafe or that gathering space that you all occupy, like if there is a strong community there, I'm talking the offline world, and some jerk comes in screaming some nonsense, being an asshole, there is almost an immune system reaction from that little community to be like, dude, come on, get out of here. Some group of people are going to be like escorting him out. When ownership happens, if you could have, if you could own that share of the cafe, if you could have a piece in that space and really feel like you own that piece of it, that little brick or that section, man, you're not just going to make sure to kick out the riffraff. Like when there's trash on the ground, you're going to want to pick it up.
Yeah, you'll be picking it up.
Cause you're like, this is my cafe. And there's a component, and we haven't figured it out yet in so many of these traditional analog things, but it's going to happen here in places like this digitally first. But there's like a primal, I mean, you go back and we were picking up seashells off a beach. If I brought some pretty seashells over back to my cave and you came by my cave and you took my seashells, I would be mad at you, right? We had to create a society to make sure that you, Kevin, couldn't steal my seashells. Or if you did that, there were consequences. And we created rules and laws and all kinds of things to make sure that my seashells could stay mine. Because we have this like basic human desire for ownership in some sense. And we found ways to do it sort of metaphorically. But here, it is a given that the digital communities and digital spaces that we occupy are just as real as the offline ones. And increasingly, I think they're going to be more and more real to more and more people. And I'm just excited to see, I don't know, I'm excited to see what happens with this starting point, with the community that you all, from the earliest days, even with initially creating the first pod, like you were intentional and deliberate about the folks that you brought on, about the sort of tenor of the conversation. This wasn't like, hey, let's shill some stuff. Like, no, like,
right.
And all of that is is demonstrating to everyone who walks into the community, like, oh, this is what it's about. Like, this may not be for everyone, but it attracts the people who it is for. And thankfully, I think there's a lot more of those people than the sort of Charlans. And then even with the Grails collective, right? I mean, I remember, I didn't know who any of the other people were, but you made a point of saying that you went out of your way to bring diversity in early to these artists, because part of the magic of the project was you didn't know who any of the artists were and you could just pick it based on how much you like the art. Those little things, dude, they put into motion a kind of ripple. And it's not just purely a back patting session, but I do think that's part of the reason, it's a big part of the reason we're here right now. And it makes me so optimistic about where this goes going forward, because this is new territory even for Web3. And it's kind of, it's only this whole wild experiment only really took off a minute ago in internet years. But I'm so excited to see where it goes from now. And man, and based on the things we've already talked about, which we're not going to scoop anything in this, but I'm excited for y'all to be shipping. And that's the other part. Okay, last part. This is, okay. We give this advice. I know you give this advice to founders all the time around just consistently shipping, under promise, over deliver, all the stuff that's like just product 101, like just the almost the addictiveness of a product and a product that keeps improving and a team that keeps shipping and is over communicative it's palpable, because we live in a world where the vast majority of institutions, right, don't improve anything and are anything but over communicative. They're very opaque. And again, I think as a species, this is the kind of stuff we like. And then we're in an environment where we're surrounded by none of it. So of course we're thirsting for it. And while there is a lot of work to do, I think it's going to be fun to watch, just watch these things start coming to fruition, because I think even internally, y'all are going to be looking around the table, figuratively speaking, or the Slack channel, what have you, and be like, okay, like we still got a lot to prove, but there is an energy of, an energy of community that I know I've felt it at times building Reddit. I know you felt it at times building Dig, but it really does feel, it hits different this time, because you know that everyone who's been there from day one, like they have a piece of it. It's their cafe too, right? It's their space too.
Alexis, I just want to say thank you again, brother. Like, this is going to be a fun journey.
The idea of the two of us, if someone had told my 22-year-old self that this would be happening right now, there'd be so many things that'd be impossible to believe, but I'm so thrilled, so grateful. 776 is so hyped to be a small part of the proof journey. And man, you got me anytime. Just holler. It's going to be
awesome.
Fun. It's going to be really fun.
All right. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you, dude.
All right, that is it for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you would like to help us out, head on over to proof.xyz and click on the reviews button at the very top and leave us a 5-star review. Thanks so much. Take care.